Yeah, there's no church stuff. We're just going to keep everything on PCR1.
Oh, well, good. That makes my life easier.
Awesome. Thanks, dude. Alrighty, everyone, thanks for joining us for this Appcast. I'm KSAT meteorologist Sarah Spivey, and I am currently tracking some flooding up in the Texas Hill Country in the area, of course, that was hardest hit last week from the floods last Friday on July 4th. As you can see on authority radar right now, we are starting to see this cluster of storms kind of become a little bit more disorganized, and that's what we want to see at the moment. It still is, though, capable of producing some flooding and is producing some flooding. We're getting multiple reports out in Kerr County of a lot of low water crossings being closed there, and that makes sense because Kerr County right now has seen, in some cases, up to about an additional 2 to 3 inches of rain. I'm going to go ahead and turn off the lightning here so you can get a better picture of how much rain has fallen, declutter the screen a bit. 2.5 inches of rain right near Kerrville. And then of particular concern is the 2 inches of rain here along the South Fork of the Guadalupe River. Of course, that was that area where Camp Mystic is and caused that flooding. On the south and north fork of the river, we are getting some heavier downpours that have fallen, and so there is the potential here to see the Guadalupe River rise to at least moderate flood stage, and there is a river warning along the Guadalupe. Here's the Guadalupe right here from Hunt all the way out just to the west of Kerrville. That's where we could see some river flooding. I'm going to bring up here and step to the side. What you're looking at is the official river forecast from the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. This is the river at Hunt, and you can see that it's forecast to crest at about 13 feet. Close to 4 o'clock, so in this afternoon. You might have to squint there, but this could get up into a moderate flood stage. Now, at moderate flood stage, here's some flood impacts. So it's forecast, yeah, that would be, I'm talking to the guys in the back right now, that would be great. At moderate flood stage, it could reach Highway 39 bridge about 2 miles east of Hunt, which would prevent some travel issues, which would create rather some travel issues. And here is 39 right here, and here's Hunt. So this is where we could have some moderate flooding up to about 12-foot flood stage. Now, I do want to put people's minds at ease here in the hill country, because last week what we saw on the 4th of July was the river crest to 37 feet at Hunt. Right now we're forecasting a maximum of 12 to 13 feet of that flood stage, moderate flood stage this afternoon. So that's some 20 feet below where the flood waters were last week. That being said, it is still important for people along Guadalupe River there to make sure to be aware of your surroundings, make sure you're away from the river bank. We know that there's a lot of volunteers out there. We also know, though, that areas and authorities have paused recovery efforts for the time being as they deal with the rain in the area. And here's a look at that rain. You're going to see it go black, and then I'm going to come back, and I'm actually going to be on KSAT. So that's what you'll see here in just a bit. Well, very good afternoon to you. Morning, rather, to you. I'm KSAT. Okay. Oh, I'm not on air yet. That's what the guys in the back are telling me. So you're getting a behind-the-scenes look here at how things work on the Appcast. And in a bit here, we're going to go black and we're going to pop back up, and we'll be on actual KSAT on the television channel. Right now, we're live on the KSAT Weather Authority app. Now, although we're not seeing any storms here yet in San Antonio, we do anticipate some storms in San Antonio by 11, 12 o'clock. These are moving pretty slowly to the south at about 20, 25 miles per hour. I'm going to step off screen here for a second, take a sip of water before we head on air. I've been talking and covering these storms. Here we go, 5-4. Well, a very good morning to you. I'm KSAT meteorologist Sarah Spivey, interrupting coverage here because I want to bring you up to speed on what is going on in the Texas Hill Country. Of course, on July 4th, we had that devastating flooding along the Guadalupe River. As you can see now, we are getting some showers and storms pushing through the Texas Hill Country. The key thing to keep in mind here is we do have a few warnings ongoing in Kerr County, one of the areas that was hardest hit by those floods back on July 4th. The first thing to know is that there's a flash flood warning for the entire county until about 11:30. And that's because we're seeing lots of low water crossings on the roads being closed because of the additional 1 to 2 inches of rain that's fallen on an area that's already completely saturated. So that flash flood warning is in effect until 11:30. And then we've also got a flood warning. I'm going to go ahead and clear the radar here so that you can see this a little bit better. Here's where we've got the flood warning. That's this tiny box here for the Guadalupe River from Hunt to Ingram. Now, the Guadalupe is not going to rise as high as it did on July 4th when it crested at 37 feet at Hunt. That was major flood stage, above major flood stage by about 15 feet. What they're forecasting is the potential for the Guadalupe River to rise to moderate flood stage later this afternoon at Hunt. And here is a look at that graph here. You might have to squint because, again, this is the official forecast from the National Weather Service office's website. I'm going to go ahead and zoom into the area of interest. And as I bring my slider over here, you can see that the Guadalupe may crest at about 13 feet, which is moderate flood stage, at around 3, 4 o'clock this afternoon. Some things about that, okay? Again, that is some 20 feet below where we were looking at the major flooding last week. If it crests at about 13 feet, it would likely cause some travel issues right where 39 is in Hunt. So that's right here. You could see a little bit of water over the road there. The biggest impact will be the fact that this is pausing a lot of the recovery efforts from first responders. We do know from our very own Devin Karp, who's out in Ingram, that they have paused the cleanup recovery efforts while the rain passes in that area. And speaking of that, we can go ahead and bring back up the radar and go ahead and push play here. And what you'll notice is that the intensity of the rain is starting to come down a little bit, and it's starting to get out of the flood warning area where the flash flooding is happening. Now, still raining, there's still plenty of lightning in these areas, but this is good news. I know there's so many people that are dealing with storm anxiety, especially after July 4th. This is not going to be anywhere near what we had on the 4th of July, but this is still a situation where there will be low water crossings. There are currently low water crossings. I'm wondering, can we bring up Devin? Is Devin available for us to bring up here? He's out in Ingram right now. Is that possible? If folks in the back can tell me if that's possible, that would be great. But meanwhile, while we wait for Devin, the thing to know is that we have got this leading edge of storms that's now starting to get into Comfort and into Bandera. This is moving to the south at about 20 miles per hour, 25 miles per hour, and it's going to be in the San Antonio area by about the afternoon, by the lunch hour. So take a look at this. We're looking at tracking these storms moving into Bexar County from anywhere from 11 to noon. Now, it's not guaranteed that we'll see flooding in San Antonio, but it is the potential for flooding. And because we have the potential for flooding, that's why we're under that flash flood watch. We're going to be watching out for flooding through Sunday evening. Keep in mind, if you do get a warning, that's when you need to take some action. So in San Antonio, we don't have a warning right now, but they do up in Kerr County. So what is the difference between a watch and a warning? A watch means flooding is possible. We're watching out for flooding. The exact location of some flooding is to be determined, and you need to be prepared. So if you're watching this appcast, if you're watching us on air, you are prepared. You're ready. Make sure you have notifications turned on your phone, a way to get warnings, good cell service. And if you don't have good cell service, make sure you have a NOAA weather radio, because that will those warnings will come to you regardless of cell service. If you get a warning, and they're getting a warning right now in Kerr County, that means that flooding is or will happen shortly. The exact location is known. If you have a warning, flooding is happening in your area, you need to take action by staying off of the roads. That's the primary threat with any of the rain today. And if necessary, seek higher ground. So those folks that are along the Guadalupe River out in I see Devin giving us a thumbs up and stuff, so that might mean that he's ready soon, but we'll check in with him a little bit later. Seems like he's still on standby. The biggest thing to know is we're going to be watching these showers and storms as they push closer and closer to San Antonio. The rain is starting to lose intensity in Kerr County, even though it's still raining quite a bit. So if you're in Kerr County, this flash flood warning expires at 11:30. That means that there's not a risk for flooding after 11:30. And if you're near the river, between Hunt to Kerrville, it's best to get at least 15 feet above where that riverbank is, because remember, that's the most that it could potentially flood. We're going to return you to programming here on KSAT, but stick with us if you're streaming. I'm live right now on the KSAT Weather Authority app. I'm live right now on ksat.com and streaming on KSAT Plus. So let's return you to programming as we continue to monitor this risk for flooding.
Made out of bronze, and the feet of the legs of the statue were made out of iron, and the feet were made out of clay mixed with iron. Nebuchadnezzar goes, "You got it right, buddy. That's exactly right." He said, "But that's not all you dreamed." He said, "Then in your dream, you saw this giant rock, this giant boulder cut from a mountain by supernatural means, and all of a sudden it is hurled at that statue. And it hits the feet that are iron and clay mixed together, and it shatters the feet, and the whole statue falls over." And Nebuchadnezzar, "You got that right, man. This is amazing. You're telling me my dream." And he said, and then when the statue falls over, it breaks into smithereens, into 1,000 pieces, and the wind comes along and blows it all away. And he said, "Now, then that rock that was there, that knocked the statue down, becomes a great mountain." This is like an...
When you see the number of lightning strikes being cut in half in a matter of an hour, that shows me that this complex of storms is weakening. That's what we want. We want this complex of storms to weaken, which means the rainfall rates are going to be coming down. It also means that flooding is maybe not going to be as widespread, even if it is possible. So as I step off screen, I also like to check in with the National Weather Service and just kind of see what they're saying on there. Okay. In the hill country, there are many, 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 many low water crossings. It's the nature of the hill country. It winds and goes up and down, and the water has nowhere to go except for into the rivers. And so we do have a lot of low water crossings ongoing right now in Kerr County. But again, the intensity of the rainfall is coming down there. And we should be expecting the rain to push into Bexar County here shortly. I'm going to leave you briefly with this radar loop here. We're going to try to get our reporter Devin available. He's out in Ingram, Kerrville. I'm going to take a quick sip of water here, and I'll be right back. righty, Devin, can you hear me?
Hey guys, yeah, we are right over here in Ingram.
Wonderful.
I want to show you guys a look outside.
Let's take
we
Devin.
are starting to see, yes.
1 second, Devin. We're going to pop you
Can
up
you hear
on
me?
screen here. I can hear you. Yep.
Sure thing. All right, I'm ready. Okay, all right, we're over here at Junction Highway in Ingram. We're starting to make our way to Kerrville right now. You can see the water is starting to pool up on some of these streets a little bit, creating puddles. First responders, again, all crews are still held on standby. The fire chief of the Ingram Volunteer Fire Department spoke with me and said, again, they are begging any volunteers who are out here right now to get away from the river if they have not already. Everyone is on standby. Stay high and dry if you can. A lot of ponchos that we're seeing outside. Let me see this. Okay, so that's just a little bit. That's our tire cam right there. You can sort of see all the water underneath us. If we're checking out the roof camera right here, taking a look around. Sorry for the shakes and the raindrop on the camera, but this is just a little bit of what we're seeing right here in Ingram. We're making our way to Kerrville right now. We have seen most of these first responders are staying put. They're staying where they are. We are seeing only cars travel to and from if they absolutely need to. We've been told to give guidance to people at home here in the area. Just stay in your houses. Don't travel unless you need to, because you're going to see like some of this water right here on the roads. It's not making for great driving conditions. And of course, make sure that you stay away from the river as well. We're monitoring this right now, getting away from the fire station, headed down 27 towards the Kerrville area. We're going to work to keep you guys updated here this morning as
Devin,
we continue this
thank you.
appcast, Sarah.
1 second, Devin. I'm going to give you some locations here where we might have some low water crossings for you to check out, just to keep people safe and aware. If you can go to
Sure, I'm ready.
Town Creek Road at Shriner. Okay, that's an option for you.
Okay.
And then we've also got the 100 block of Highway 39 in Kerr County. And then Old Harper and Morris. These are options for you to check out to see what the road conditions are like. Of course, we know you're going to be safe and listen to whatever the local authorities ask you to, but those are some things that you can check out for us just to see what the conditions are like. I think, Devin, you have really done a great job of describing this as out of an abundance of caution. People are really trying to encourage people to stay away from the Guadalupe River right now, as there is that potential there for it to flood to moderate flood stage. So just keep an eye on the Guadalupe for us as well, Devin. That would be super helpful. Thank you for being out there. Our eyes on the ground, our boots on the ground.
Sarah.
And yeah, wonderful. We'll check back in with you a little bit later, Devin. Thanks so much. So again, Devin is out in Kerr County right now. He was near Ingram earlier today. We saw that this rain was coming, and we wondered, okay, well, what are the volunteers and all of the people out there that are helping with their recovery efforts going to do? And sure enough, the Ingram Fire Department, and they have paused all volunteer work at the moment. Of course, the first responders will go out there as necessary. Whatever needs to get done, they're going to get done. But you can see that for the most part, these showers and storms are starting to lighten up in the area as they move south, approaching Bernie, approaching Bandera, approaching Tarpley. You could easily get a quick 1 to 3 inches of rain, and that is the reason why there is that flood watch in place. That flood watch really just kind of there as a precaution, just in case you get a flood a little bit later. You want to be on alert. I am going to try to see if my hand tracker will work again. Sometimes when we use these guys so much like we have been the last week and a half, they can get a little tired. So let's see if I can get this to work now. Nope. All right. I'm going to step off for a bit and restart that and just kind of talk to you over what the situation that's happening right now in and around the hill country. We've got a good amount of rain that's fallen over areas in Kerr County. Let's take a look at the 12-hour rainfall totals. You can really see those piling up. And when I say 12-hour rainfall totals, it's really more like a 3-hour rainfall totals. 2 to 3 hour rainfall totals, and you can see these yellows really taking over your screen there. That's where we've seen, in some cases, 2 to 3 inches of additional rain on already saturated ground. I mean, just an impressive amount of rainfall in this area over the last week and a half. I think over the July 4th holiday, we had areas of up to a foot of rain fall, and I can circle this area, up to a foot of rainfall from Mountain Home all the way down to the South Fork of the river. And when it worked out, it was something like 100 billion gallons of water, which is more than what falls in Niagara Falls in a day. Not just a second, but in a day. So impressive rainfall amounts out there. So any additional rain on there just has nowhere to go except for into the Guadalupe River. And that's why we do have that warning in place for the potential for some flooding there. Let's go ahead and see if we can get this hand tracker to work again. Fingers crossed. If you want to cross your fingers with me at home, that would be helpful. Let's see. Hey, you did it. Thank you so much. All right, let's go ahead and go back to the radar. Again, if I'm a little lighthearted, it's because this is not necessarily a life-threatening situation across Kerr County. This is out of an abundance of caution, and there are some low water crossings that are closed and that are flooding here in Kerr County. That's why we have this flash flood warning in place until 11:30. If you're curious about the river could reach flood stage near Hunt later on this afternoon, moderate flood stage, about 20 feet below where it was at last week. So yes, still dangerous, but not nearly as life-threatening as it was over the July 4th holiday. A wider view here shows the rain is starting to inch closer and closer to Bexar County. We can go ahead and press play here. You can see that rain approaching Bexar County here. And it's moving south at about 20-25 miles per hour, so it's inching. But if it keeps up that pace, it would be near Medina Lake by 10:45. It would be near Somerset by 11:55. Near New Braunfels by about 11. Pardon me. I've been talking for a while. All right, keep your phone handy, because I obviously need to take a break with my voice, but keep your phone handy. I will send out a push notification to that phone when I am ready to join you guys again on the Appcast. For now, I'm going to leave you with the radar. All right. Thanks for again joining us on the Appcast. I have got some news from Devin. He's out in Kerr County that he is at one of the locations where the water is a little high. And before we take Devin, I want to go ahead and send out a push notification because I just told people I would, that I'm going to continue to track these showers and storms. So give me a second while I do that. Folks in the back, if we can get Devin ready for a live shot, that would be awesome. And y'all can talk to me back there too. Awesome. All right. Hey, Devin, can you hear me? Give me 1 second, okay? Where are you at?
Okay, Sarah, right now we are starting to make our way towards Town Creek and Shriner Road. We were able to pass through it here earlier. I'll give you guys a view just of what we're seeing out here right now. So we did see the river was very, very high, but the road itself was not flooded. They already have a blockade over here with some firefighters, first responders, taking a look at that. Here, 1 second.
Right,
we're just
so
going to
that
make sure
looks
that
to
we
me-
can safely get towards the
Yeah.
area.
Okay, so Devin,
We're in a cul-de-sac right now. We're going to get there in a second here and then
Yeah.
show you guys. But yeah, Sarah, what did you have?
so again, remind me where you're at exactly in Kerr County so I can let our viewers know.
Absolutely. We are headed over here near Town Creek Road and Shriner Road as well. Taking a look on the maps here, we have started to make our way over here. We're going to go to some of the other locations, but it is right near Harper Street. It's the corner there. It's right near the Town Creek River over there. We're going to make our way there to show you guys here in a second.
And
But
correct
in
me
the
if I'm
meantime,
wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong, but the rain should be lightening up a little bit in that area.
yes, we have seen some lighter drops as we've started to make our way through here. Nothing too heavy, but the roads are still seeing some of those issues as well. But no, it's not nearly as heavy of the rain as compared to when we were in Ingram, closer to the volunteer fire department station.
That's great. And for our viewers who are tuning in on the stream right now, tell us about your morning. So earlier you were out in Ingram, right, with the volunteer fire department. Oh, look, I see that ponding on the road
Yeah,
right
that's
there
right.
for you.
Yeah, there it is here. Let's give a look down. Sorry about that. We're working with this equipment. Yeah, so that is what we're seeing here on the roads as well. Earlier this morning, I went over to the Ingram Volunteer Fire Department. I was able to speak with the chief there. He was telling me a little bit about the fact that crews are on standby today. Rescue and search operations have been halted for now. Crews are assigned, but they're not going towards those areas at the moment. Right now, they're focused on making sure that people don't go into some of the high water areas.
Yeah.
They said volunteer operations are stopped for the day. They have more than enough first responders and people in town. So any residents in the area, they're encouraging you just stay high and dry. Make sure that you are in your homes and avoiding driving if you can, unless you are getting out. Here's the river right here as we take a look over there. See, we've got a crew there with some orange cones. So we take a look over to the right here.
That's good.
It is starting
out
to
there
rise
making
around this
sure
area for sure.
They're making sure to close that as soon as it becomes dangerous. That is good news to know. And what road is that there, Devin, that you just drove by?
So we just drove by Shriner Road, I believe. We are now back to getting on to, we are on Shriner Road. That was Town Creek Road. Now we're
Right.
getting onto North Lewis Avenue.
Right, and I think
Or continuing on Harper, yes.
great job. Let's double box this. Thank you so much, Devin. I think what you're seeing there is a great indication of the kind of flooding that we could see from the Guadalupe. It could come up to the roads, but it's not going to be this raging river like what we saw about a week and a half ago on July 4th. Still enough to use extra caution, still enough to be warned about the potential for river flooding. And again, if we do see a peak in the crest of the river later today near Hunt, that would be closer into the afternoon. So they're going to have to watch that very carefully. Let's take Devin's screen full there. Looks like we've got some ponding on the roads as he's driving around in Kerr County. This is the kind of flash flooding that could be possible in Bexar County later today. A lot of low water crossings closed in Kerr County. We'll be watching to see if that happens in Bexar County. Of course, Kerr County is not as much of a sponge as Bexar County is, because Kerr County saw over a foot of rain just a week and a half ago. There you go. We've got Town Creek and Shriner. That's the intersection they're at right now. That would technically be safe enough to drive over right now, but as that water rises, you definitely don't want to even approach. There's the river. There's the Guadalupe right there on your screen. Let's pan up a little bit. There it is. You can see it approaching the roads. Right here. There's the Guadalupe flowing.
Yeah, we are not going to go down this road at all, by the way.
Yep.
We're going to reverse just shortly. You can see the first responder crew right there coming through.
And listening to the first responders, that is your priority. Making sure to not break any laws, your priority there. And that, my friends, is the reason why we have got that flood warning for the Guadalupe River from Hunt all the way through Ingram out toward Kerrville, is because that river is rising. Guadalupe is rising. It's expected to crest this afternoon at moderate flood stage at about 12 feet. Of course, the sad thing about this is it really has hindered first responders from continuing their recovery efforts. You know, we've got ample warning out there right now for everybody who's around that river, so there shouldn't be that many issues with life-threatening situation later today, just because people are aware, people are out of abundance of caution, staying away from the Guadalupe River in Kerr County. But that being said, the sad thing about this, in my opinion, is that it is going to slow down those first responder efforts. Devin, did the Ingram Fire Department say anything about resuming those recovery and cleanup efforts?
They said they are fully waiting on the weather at this point. They say that the rain is going to make things harder out there for them, but the worst case scenario is having crews working when they're not 100% sure that there's no risk of flooding or this rain, and then something comes through, because a lot of the equipment that they're working with to remove a lot of these debris, check through the area, that's meant for power. That's not meant for speed. So it can't climb these hills fast. It's not going to be able to get out nearly as fast as some of these people are. So they said for now, crews do have assignments on where to go, but none of them have actually left yet. They are all on standby. They are monitoring the storm just like we are over here, and they said as soon as they get to a point where they feel safe and comfortable sending crews out, they will start to resume. But again, another hard thing out here is that with all the water that's come through, it's really oversaturated a lot of the ground, a lot of the mud, and those conditions make it really hard to work on some of these efforts when they're out here. So they said for the meantime, they're ready to go. They are just waiting on the all clear from some of the rains, some of the storms before they start to go back out there. And again, they did want me to stress this as well. There are volunteer groups that have come into town. A lot of them have signed up with organizations, nonprofit groups, with the Texas Department of Emergency Management, but there are some who have not made contact with any of those officials and are just out here doing some of the work. And while that is admirable, A, they really encourage people to go sign up in an official capacity, but B, they say everyone needs to get away from the river right now. Those crews that have been under oversight from first responders got guidance a long time ago this morning that they need to get out, way before even sometimes they were just thinking about things ahead of time and they were saying, hey, you guys need to get out. That's not something some of these unofficial volunteer groups have. So anyone who's near the river, if you have friends, family who are out here doing something noble and trying to help out, just make sure that they're getting to high ground at a safe place, because you can't get a lot of work done when this rain is happening, and you don't want to put yourself in harm's way, because that means first responders are going to have to come out and potentially try to save you.
Devin, thank you. That is such a good point. We are actually going to be live on KSAT at 10:15. Right now we're streaming. We're going to be live on KSAT at 10:15. I'd love for you to join me. I'd love to see what you're seeing out there for folks who are watching TV at home. So please stand by. We'll see you in about 5 minutes. Thank you so much, Devin. Okay, as we go back to the radar, just to reset, show you everything we're dealing with right now, let's go ahead and put this in motion. Okay, we are dealing with a weakening complex of storms. The key word there is weakening. Weakening. This is not nearly as strong as it was moving through Kerrville, dropping 2 inches of rain. And it certainly is not as strong as it was when it dropped over 8 inches of rain across central Texas in the overnight hours. Take a look at the rainfall. I'm going to go ahead and clear off some of these things just so you can get a clearer picture. This is the rainfall from overnight tonight. I know it says the last 5 days, but it's really from overnight. And you can see in some of these areas like San Saba out to Lampasas and Llano, some of these areas received 10 inches of rain in the overnight hours, 6 to 10 inches of rain. That was a lot of rain in a short period of time, and that's the reason why they've got all of these flash flood warnings and river warnings along the Colorado through Marble Falls. So the storm system was very strong overnight. It entered into Kerr County in a weaker state, but enough to produce a decent amount of rain. Here's a look at the rainfall that's fallen in Kerr County just in the last couple of hours, 2 to 3 inches of rain there on already saturated ground, and that's why we're seeing the river rise. We've got a river flood warning for areas west of Kerrville along the river because it is expected to crest at moderate stage, 12 to 13 feet this afternoon. We've got a flash flood warning for street flooding, ponding on the roads, low water crossings through about 11 o'clock. So 2 different types of flooding. The river is rising, not as high as it was back in July 4th, but high enough to stay away from that river. That's one type of flooding. And then the other type of flooding was we've got that flash flooding, the low water crossings, those kinds of things. Back to the radar right now. You can see that these showers and storms are quickly approaching Bexar County, but the good news is they're weakening. So the flood risk is really going down as these start to go into Bexar County here. It's storming near Boerne at the moment. Lots of heavy rain falling along I-10 from Comfort to Boerne out toward Tarpley and Vanderpool and Utopia. So if you're joining us on this appcast, what we're going to do right now is we're going to break into live coverage on television. You'll see it go black. You'll see it pop up. You'll see me and Devin reintroducing ourselves. We're doing that for the people who are joining us on television as you all are joining us via an internet connection and live streaming through the app. So we're just to give the guys in the back in my ear a heads up, we're probably going to be on air for about 5 to 10 minutes, just briefing everybody at home. For those of you who are still watching us on the stream, again, we are under a flood watch. We're watching for flooding through this evening. I'm going to go ahead and bring us back to the radar and step to the side as we will be on television in about 30 seconds. Well, we are interrupting programming here very shortly. I'm meteorologist Sarah Spivey. We're continuing to track some flooding that's ongoing across the hill country in an area that has seen too much flooding all too recently. Kerr County is dealing with some flash flooding. Low water crossings are closed in areas. This flash flood warning is in effect until 11:30. But an area of concern for many people is the Guadalupe River from Hunt all the way out to Kerrville. Because that river is rising, it's expected to reach at least moderate flood stage. Now that, while it is dangerous, is nowhere near the major flood stage of the rushing waters that we saw over July 4th. That we saw a crest of 37 feet. This is expected to crest at maybe 12 feet near Hunt. But we are seeing some impacts out there in Kerrville, Ingram, and Hunt. And joining us live is our very own Devin Karp. Devin, what are you seeing out there? I know you're right next to the river.
Yeah, Sarah, that's right. We're right over here. This is Town Creek Road and Bluebonnet Road. I want you to take a look at this here. There's the river over there. You can see we've got some blockades that are set up right over here. Taking a look at some of the flooding on the road. So make sure that you guys are not driving out there if you can avoid the roads right now. I spoke with the fire chief over at the volunteer fire department with Ingram over there, and he was saying to make sure that people are not going out and about.
Hey, Devin, I'm wondering if we can,
area.
That's very good advice. I'm wondering if we can pan up and look at the river itself off in the distance, because yes, that street flooding is dangerous, but if we can look at the river there off in the distance, you can see some muddy waters.
We're working on that, Sarah. We're having some technical difficulties with the actual camera operation unit here on the unit. But
well, I'm glad you're being
we are able
safe.
to show this front camera view. Yes, we are not going towards this road over here. We are staying away from some of that water over there. I'm sorry, this is the best that we can show you at the moment with some of these. Oh, here we go. Okay, thankfully, photojournalist Alexis was able to get that back up and running for us again. She's been doing an absolutely wonderful job, too, while we've been out here. Okay, we're going to go ahead and see if you guys can look through the raindrops. The river levels are starting to get high. We have not seen it reach over the road yet here, but there is some of those pockets of water flowing alongside, as you guys can see right over here. Now, crews that have been out here assisting with the search and rescue operations have been working. They are on standby, and okay, I would not recommend doing what this car is. First responders have set up blockades around some of the affected areas as well, so please stay away from higher rivers like this. We are parked up here and will not plan to go down there, but those first responder crews that are out and about right now, they are on hold. They have assignments, but none of them are going out because of the rain. They say once the storm lets up, if it does today, that's when they'll start the operations again. But first responders are not out there right now, so you should not be as well. They say if there are any volunteer crews that are out and about as well here, to make sure they get away from the river so there aren't any issues with having too many people out here when they don't need to be. We've been driving around here from Ingram. We're now over here in Kerrville, once again at Town Creek Road and Bluebonnet Road, keeping an eye on some of these conditions over here. The rain has started to ebb and flow. It goes between light rain and heavy rain. We're somewhat in the middle medium section, I would say, right now, depending on what we've seen with some of these downpours. But it has been heavy, and this the water does continue to rise at a pretty substantial level. So we're just going to go ahead and keep an eye on some of these conditions here again, but just going through some key points. Make sure you're staying away from some of these roads. If you see a blockade sign set up by some of the first responders that are out here, do not go past it. They encourage people to stay in their homes, stay high and dry if you can, and to make sure that you are letting first responders take care of their jobs. Once some of this rain and storm lets up, they will continue their efforts. But for the meantime, here in town, we are under alert. We're keeping an eye on this, and we're going to be doing so for the rest of the time here on KSAT. So, Sarah, if you would like to ask me anything, if we're going to continue to follow some of these other spots as well, I'll go ahead and I'll send it back to you for now.
Yeah, thank you so much, Devin. And again, I think the key there is this has really put a pause on the recovery efforts, and that's the bad news from this additional rainfall. We can see that the river is rising. The river is under a flood warning right now. I'm going to bring up for you the forecast river levels for the Guadalupe at Hunt. So right where that fork, the north and south fork of the Guadalupe meet. This is a look at the forecast. You might have to squint on your TV, but the river is rising slightly and it's expect to crest at about 13 feet, which is moderate flood stage. Now, it's not good that the Guadalupe is flooding again. It is not good. This is definitely causing issues for first responders and the like. But this is not going to be anywhere near where we had the flood last week. Last week, that flood was crest at a record nearly 37 feet at Hunt. So this forecast crest for this afternoon is sitting more at about 20 feet below that. So we are not going to be looking at a raging river sweeping away houses, sweeping away people. Instead, this is unfortunately just going to really hinder those recovery and cleanup efforts that have been going on for about a week in Kerr County. So we do have that river warning in effect through this afternoon, and we have another flash flood warning for Kerr County in effect through about 11 o'clock. These showers and storms are weakening as they approach Bexar County. Right now it's raining in Bernie, it's raining in Bandera. There's very little lightning with this. There's some lightning up near Medina, but this cluster of storms will be near the New Braunfels area by about 11:15, near 1604 on the north side by 11 o'clock, downtown by about 11:30, Elmendorf by about noon. It'll be near Hondo by about 11:30 as well. This cluster of showers and storms is not going to cause flooding in San Antonio. Again, it's weakening quite a bit. It could cause some ponding on the roadways, but what we're watching very carefully is for redevelopment later on today and potentially even tonight. Some redevelopment of these showers and storms overhead. Later tonight is where there could be a risk for flooding in San Antonio. For the next couple of hours in San Antonio, really just some of your run-of-the-mill showers and storms. But later on tonight, there could be some redevelopment, and that's where we could really run the risk for some flooding. So we'll keep you posted about that. For now, just know that we are watching for the potential for flooding. That's why we're under a flood watch until later on this evening. Pockets of 1 to 3, but a bullseye of up to 8 inches of rain. That has already happened, by the way, up nearer to Colleen. So we'll keep you posted. I'm live right now on the KSAT Weather Authority app, covering these showers and storms as they move in. For now, we'll return you to programming, and please join me live on KSAT.com, the Weather Authority app, and KSAT Plus.
Wonderful food the whole day. Like, I love food. I live for food. I go to places, and if it's no good food over there, I don't go back anymore. Like, it's the biggest or beautiful city, but still, it needs to have the good food. And we